know this place is around here somewhere. Oh, here you guys are. I had no idea where you guys were. I'm back, so let's dive right in. First off, welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, welcome to the channel, but it has been way too long since my last upload. You guys have been very, very generous in the comments off the last 3 or 4 videos, so thank you so much for the words of encouragement and all the nice things that you've said. It really kind of helped me get back into the groove of things. Since my last upload, I've actually purchased my first gaming and editing desktop PC, so that's been really exciting, and I've learned a lot as far as the streaming stuff goes, but I've always been told by people like, what are you gaming on right now? What are you using for a keyboard? Apparently my old keyboard was not cutting it. Even though I've had great luck with it, this is the actual Logitech K270 keyboard. It's just your standard workhorse kind of keyboard. It's wireless. It actually comes paired with this small mini mouse, which I was using for travel purposes for work. I'll be honest with you, for the first 6 months of gaming, this little thing did the trick. Look how small this is. It's like a little mini tiny baby mouse. Oh, you little baby mouse? Do you have a little baby mouse? You playing with the baby mouse? It's time for the big boy stuff. This is the G305 that I purchased from Logitech. It's a Lightspeed wireless mouse. Love it. This is definitely a step up. It actually has more buttons on the side, which is kind of amazing and different for me because I've never had buttons on the side of mouse before. But we're not here to talk about any of that today. I really wanted to be able to find out what was the best solution for a gaming keyboard on the market today and stay wireless. So today we're talking about the Razer BlackWidow V3 Pro. I've actually been using this for the last 2 weeks or so, trading it out with a couple of different keyboards to see which ones I liked and which ones I didn't like. Those reviews are gonna be coming up soon. First off, out of the box, you get the keyboard, which is really great. You get a very nice braided USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable. The back of the unit itself is a USB Type-C for the keyboard. So the nice part is you can have the keyboard plugged in and you can use it just like a regular wired keyboard. It also has an internal battery so you can charge it. On the side of the keyboard, there's an actual toggle switch which kind of controls which mode you're in. So you can put it in the 2.4 if you want wireless mode. You want the toggle switch in the middle if you have the hard connection using either the braided cable or another USB Type-C to whatever interface on your PC cable that you have. And obviously if you turn the toggle switch all the way to the other side, you have your Bluetooth connection. This came in really handy when I'm sitting here and trying to multitask, do some things online. I'm surfing the web or I'm trying to edit something on the keyboard and then all of a sudden somebody texts me. Especially if I had to type in a paragraph or something like that on the iPhone, it was so much easier to just use the keyboard. I got my iPhone propped up on a little stand here so it's facing me as I'm typing. It was really easy to type everything out, delete something if I had to delete something, hit enter and send it. The braided cable works fine. It also comes with this little green dongle. It actually says right on the dongle too, 2.4 BW Pro. If you have a wireless Razer keyboard and a wireless Razer mouse, you can use one dongle with it, which is kind of nice. As opposed to something like the Logitech G series and the Lightspeed series where basically you need a dongle per individual item that you have. So if you have the mouse, that's a dongle, the keyboard, that's a dongle. So something like the Logitech stuff could be a little bit troublesome for somebody that has a limited amount of USB ports on their system. But getting back to the Razer, first out of the box, the impressions are you get the dongle, you get this awesome USB Type-C cable with it. It comes with this included It comes with the included wrist rest pad. That's like a mouthful there. But it kind of goes on the bottom of the unit, so it's a nice place to rest your wrists on there. Now, could you use the keyboard without the wrist pad? Sure. The problem with this keyboard is it stands tall off the desk, and then on top of that, you have the height of the keys. It's a great thing that they included the wrist pad with this keyboard. I think it's almost a necessity if you're looking to use this keyboard just because of how tall it is. But again, it's something to keep in mind that it makes this a little bit deeper now when it comes to having this on a shorter desk. It's actually a bit of a chunky unit. I'm actually gonna throw up the dimensions of the unit right here so you guys can check that out. But it's a full-size keyboard with the 10 keys, what they call the 10 keys on the right side of the keyboard. The keys themselves are actually fairly tall. They're fairly tall keys from what I'm used to. The travel distance from pressing the key to all the way bottoming the key out is a pretty long distance. I'm gonna see if I can look that up online to see what that is. But the weird thing about it is the engagement is about maybe halfway I don't know if you guys can hear this clicking. Obviously the Razer is a mechanical keyboard, so it's got a nicer click to it. The keys are a nice matte finish. You don't have to worry about any oil, any fingerprint marks, anything like that. What really sticks out to me are the media keys though. I love the media keys. I'm not sure if they're made out of a metal or very hard plastic, but you have your reverse key, your play pause, your forward track key, and then you also have this nice wheel on the outside of the keyboard all the way to the right side, right above the 10 keys there, with a mute button right in the middle of it. What really threw me off the first time I used this was I was trying to turn the volume down, and because the wheel hangs off the side of the keyboard, I was going down with the wheel. Well, apparently that goes up. The way the Razer has it set up from factory is if you're turning the wheel clockwise, you're actually turning the music up, and if you're turning it counterclockwise, you're turning it down. Well, it was kind of counterintuitive what I was trying to do. If I was trying to scroll down on the side of the keyboard, I wanted the music to go down, vice versa, I wanted the music to go up. Thankfully, in their system, it was very easy to change it. I could go into the keybinds and very easily change clockwise to turning the music down and counterclockwise to actually turning the music up, which doesn't make sense if you're looking at it from the top down, but obviously from the side when you're moving it up and down, it worked perfectly. You can set up to 4 custom modes for any kind of different keyboard layout. So if you were setting up for like an MMO and you wanted the keyboard set up for that kind of keybind, you can have that. If you're doing like a first-person shooter and you're like in a Warzone, Apex situation, you're gonna have a separate keybind set up for those kind of games as well. It also has a gaming mode where you can disable certain keys on the keyboard. So for instance, if you want to disable the Windows key at the bottom of the keyboard so you don't accidentally hit that instead of hitting like the left Alt button, you can fully disable that. So in gaming mode, it'll ignore certain keys. Obviously that's customizable. You can change the different keys that are accessible to you and disabled at the time that the gaming mode is enabled. So that's a very nice feature. And you can switch between modes fairly easily by just holding the function key down and pressing either F9 or F10 on the keyboard. That kind of goes back and forth between like your gaming modes and your different custom modes that you have set up. But let's be honest, if you're looking to pick up a gaming keyboard and you're gonna spend this amount of money on a gaming keyboard, you want the RGB, and you want it to be amazing RGB, and Razer does not disappoint in that department. The colors are very saturated on this keyboard. Even if you go into like your blues and your deep purples, you can see those fairly well on this keyboard. Let me compare the RGB Razer to the Logitech G915, which I also have here for a review. So the G915 lights only light up the actual letters or symbols on the keys, just the top of the key itself. But on the Razer, because those keys are raised higher up, the light actually seeps out around the bottom of the keys and in between them, so it actually lights up the keyboard a lot better. The other big thing I love about the Razer, and thank you for doing this, Razer, the number keys on the top not only have the numbers lit up, but also the symbols. Simple thing that something like the Logitech does not have. If you go back into the Razer Synapse, which is one of the ones that they want you to download to be able to get the full functionality out of this keyboard, you can not only control the color of the RGB, the patterns, which I'll kind of show you a little bit right here. By the way, there was a ton of options there. So the visualizer will work for any kind of music that you're playing or whatever. You actually set the input and it listens right for it. That was really nice. I actually used the wallpaper engine on my PC, so it's a live wallpaper in the background that constantly has motion and moves with all the different colors going on. So to be able to match the visualizer on the keyboard to that desktop application and to have that kind of mimic and mirror what was going on the screen, that's awesome. That was really cool. If you want to make a gradient between your like 2 or 3 favorite different colors, you could have that and have it on a slanted pattern so they show up on the keyboard. Now let's talk battery life for a second. Out of the box, this came with about 50% battery charged on it. I used that down and then fully charged it up to 100% overnight. Realistically, the keyboard on a full charge lasted me about 2.5 to 3 days. Now that's having the RGB at full brightness, reactive, whether it's music or desktop, mirroring, all that kind of stuff. But that's me sending out emails, that's me in Discord, doing the chat, stuff like that. That's me live streaming, gaming on this. So about 2.5 to 3 days max on a full charge before you really have to think about plugging it in. Now it does something pretty cool where when the battery actually gets low, it goes from doing whatever kind of reactive RGB light that you have it set up to this red pulse to let you know like, okay, the battery needs to be charged now. You guys are getting towards the end of the battery life on here. It's time to plug it in. Let's talk about the quickness as far as reaction time. I didn't notice any. Again, I went from the K270, which is not a gaming keyboard. It's a wireless keyboard. I think the millisecond delay on that is like a 5 millisecond delay. I did not notice any difference gaming on that, especially in a first-person shooter, to going to the Razer. I'm not saying that the Razer is not a better keyboard as far as the response time. It clearly is. It clearly states it is. But for me, it wasn't a big game changer as far as this is not going to make you an amazing gamer. Trust me, it's not going to make you an amazing gamer. Not that I thought it would. I mean, I thought it'd help. I mean, I thought it'd help a little bit. I mean, I thought it would at least not. Could it maybe have, like, not... I suck. No, to be honest with you, I don't think that it helps you significantly. It probably helps a little bit with the input lag and stuff like that. Here's what I don't like about this keyboard, and please keep in mind, these are my personal opinions. You might have a completely different opinion about this keyboard. This might be the winner for you, hands down. Going from the K270 to the Razer, here's what I notice on this particular keyboard. What I don't like about it, again, is the height of the keys. I know it might sound silly. I know that the actual distance of the keys going down all the way might not be that much more significant when you look at the actual measurements, but I can tell you, if you're used to typing long emails or you're in chat and Discord, you're doing something like that, you can notice a difference in those keys. These have the Razer green clicky keys, which again makes that loud typewriter sound. That's not for me. This is the first keyboard that I've ever had that's like that. It's just not for me. This is not my daily workhorse. Like I said, people can not only hear that clickiness on a Zoom call or anything like that, but just for me, it's very loud. I'm in a small studio here. We've talked about this before, and even with sound deadening in this studio, this makes such a racket. The feedback that you get on the keyboard is very nice. You get this pressurized clickiness that when you engage it, you know that you've pressed that key. But what I don't like about it is how loud it is. And again, maybe that's your thing. Maybe you love that sound and it's very satisfying sound. If I'm typing like this all day, another thing that's not for me is just the design of the keys in general. So again, these keys are very angular, they're very tall. There's a huge drop off between the two keys. Now let me compare this real quick to not only the height, but the angle of something like the Logitech. The Logitech has gotta be probably not even half the size of what this Razer is. And here's the big difference. Because this Logitech is so much more low profile, the angle on it is a lot more gradual, which means that the distance between the keys are a lot tighter on the Logitech. That's my kind of style. I like that a lot more because I can move from key to key freely. Now, some would argue that, okay, but you don't really know what key you're on, especially if you're gaming like that, WASD. If you play a first-person shooter on the Razer, you're gonna understand really quickly what it means to move from key to key because everything is deliberate, like I said. But for my play style, I would much rather have the keys closer together, a smaller gap, and the profile of the click is a lot smaller. Again, this is personal preference. Maybe you're already used to the Razer keyboards and how they function and how they're designed like that. If that's the case and that doesn't really bother you, I would 100% go for the Razer. Another thing to keep in mind, like I told you guys before, it comes with this Razer wrist pad. Problem is that now makes this about 50% larger than just the keyboard itself because it stretches out the depth as far as what you need to have on your desk. So if you have a small desk, mine is a 24-inch depth desk, it fits on here fine, but again, it takes up a lot more room. All right, so now it's gonna come down to what would I rate this keyboard out of 5. For me, let's take the clickiness out of it and just rate the rest of the keyboard because I think that the clicky, textile, and linear are gonna be up to your preferences. Although if I had to rate the clickiness out of 5, it'd be a 1. Let's rate the clickiness then 1 out of 5, and we'll put that up right here. And now if we could just kind of like get rid of that for a second. Now let's look at the rest of the keyboard and how I would rate that. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 for 2 reasons. It's very well put together. I think it has high-end materials on it. It's got an aluminum chassis, which is very solid, very sturdy. The keys are great. Like I said, it's got that matte finish, so it doesn't leave any kind of fingerprints and stuff like that. But the pure size of it, number one, you have to have this on a desk that's at least, I'm gonna say what my size of my desk is, at least 24 inches deep. If you're tight on space on your desk, this keyboard might not might be it for you. And again, this is just personal preference. So I'm gonna go based on the size of the keyboard, both the depth of the keyboard and the height of it, because it's just a completely different feel as far as the height is concerned. The other reason that I'm not gonna a star is I think because of the battery life. So I would say the overall size of it and the battery life earns it that 4 out of 5 for me. And of course, if you want to include the clickiness, 1 out of 5, maybe, you know, bring that down a peg or two. But again, you can order this with the tactile and the linear keys, which are supposed to be a lot quieter. I just really wanted to try the clickiness to see if I actually like the keyboard or not. So yeah, that's what I think of the Razer BlackWidow V3 Pro. Man, that is a mouthful of a keyboard, by the way, Razer. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it, maybe a little bit more information on if this keyboard is the right one for you before you go out and buy it. Maybe you guys already have this keyboard and love it. Maybe you have another gaming keyboard that I should know about that I haven't tried and tested out yet. Would love to hear from you guys. Also, what do you want to see next on the channel? Do you like these reviews? Should we go a completely different direction? I try to read through all the comments, so I love hearing from you guys, so make sure to drop it in the comments below. As always, the products that we review do have a product link in the description below, so check that out, along with all the other things that I have in my studio, my lights, cameras, microphone, all stuff like that. So feel free to check those out if you're interested in what else I'm using to make these YouTube videos and or to stream. My Twitch link is in the description below, along with our Discord link. We have an awesome community there, so be sure to check that out. If you guys like what you saw today, please consider liking and subscribing. It doesn't take a lot of time, and I'm definitely not gonna sit here and stare at you until you do it. Not gonna do that. I'm not even looking at you. You're looking at me. I got time. And as always, thanks guys. See you later. La 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 la. A B C D, A B C D. Sally sold seashells by the seashore. Nope. Rubber baby, Bubby, Bubby, Bubby.